Welcome to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. Today, let's talk about the most important thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Kale Houser Leadership Secrets podcast. My name is Kale Houser, co-founder and CEO of Kale Houser Leadership. I appreciate you joining me today. Here at Kale Houser Leadership, we focus on leaders that want to build amazing teams, leaders that want to build amazing businesses, and leaders that want to get better at leadership. Now, part of that is understanding how to really prioritize your time, for lack of a better term. And have you thought about what's the most important thing you can do as a leader? There are all kinds of opinions on this. There are all kinds of interpretations. And I would argue there are things that change in priority as you go through different phases of your leadership journey, of your team building, of your culture building. But if you are new to leadership, if you are new to building teams, if you are new to running your business, or if you are new to this whole world of I am now in charge and responsible for other people or the success of my organization, I would argue there is one thing that is the most important thing, probably to you right now. You know what it is? Take a guess. The most important thing is the next commitment on your calendar. What does your calendar look like? Now, maybe you're sitting there going, what? I thought you were going to say the most important thing is an honesty or relationships or building amazing people or being there for my people. Yes, those things are all important. 100% those are all important. But without that next commitment on your calendar, where does that leave you? Most people kind of just go, busy work. Oh, just get this little bit done over here. I'm going to waste some time over here. I'm going to scroll over here. I'm going to type this up over here. But when you have appointments, when you have commitments on your calendar, you're committed to them. Now, this may be that 15-minute checkup goal-setting appointment with one of your people that you should be doing every 2 weeks. This may be a big lunch date or a lunch meeting with a potential client. You need to start, if you do not already, putting things on your calendar, because those are the things that not only drive us towards success, they pull us towards success. When you see that on your calendar, whether it's later that day, the next morning, or that evening, and you go, that's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm focusing on. That's what I've got going on today. It staves us away from the floating around, being totally reactionary in nature. And I would argue a leader who is only reactionary in nature, you're only responding to the crises that show up. You're only responding to the outrage that happens from an employee. You're only responding out of emotion and out of like, holy smokes, I didn't expect this to happen today. I didn't plan on it. You're not leading, because part of leading is showing your people the way. Part of leading is being that example. Part of leading is providing that vision. And you do that by being purposeful. Are you being purposeful? What is your next thing on your calendar right now? Do you know? Do you have it? Is it today? Is it tomorrow? Is it next week? Is your calendar completely void? Now, obviously, I'm not talking about if you're on vacation, but even that's on your calendar. Like, this is my vacation to unplug, and I'm going to go sit on a beach and just hang out with my family and play with my kids in the water. But that's on your calendar. But I'm talking about what's the next commitment that you have going on to pull you towards success, to drive you towards your targets. Now, we can dive even further into this in what are the types of appointments that you're doing. Are you overcommitting? Are you undercommitting? Is your calendar so stacked that you don't have time to drive from one appointment to another? All these things is what Grant Cardone says would be good. Those are good things. You want a stacked calendar. That's what's going to drive you to your success, especially if you're in your kind of startup phase, that quote unquote startup phase where you're building and building and building and everything is focused on just getting known and getting your name out there. But what is your next commitment? What do you have coming up this week, tomorrow, next week? What are you doing on your weekend? Do you know? How can you use even small bits of time to be productive in your business, to make those connections, to make introductions, to get yourself known? And if these are things that you're not thinking about, this is part of what Kale Houser Leadership is designed to do, is to help people just like you that maybe you're just not sure where to start. Maybe you're not sure what to do. What calendar should I use? How should I do it? Should I schedule in pink or should I schedule in purple? What does that look like? Because you literally have never even thought about it. Let us help you. If that's something you need help, please shoot us a line, shoot me a DM, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. If you found this beneficial, please like, comment, subscribe, and shares are fantastic. But I want to ask you and really think about, what is your next commitment? Because I would argue, especially if you are in the building phase of your leadership journey, the most important thing you've got going on right now is the next commitment you have on your calendar. And it's time to start focusing on that and taking that seriously. Stop wasting time with all that white space on your calendar. And if you're finding that you have nothing or propensity of white space in your calendar, i.e. unfilled things, dead time, space, just to kind of do whatever, you need to fix that, because businesses are not built on white space. I actually heard a podcast that reminds me, a podcast that's quasi-related, but a gentleman talked about, he was audited by the IRS. You know, his business had a bunch of success, and, you know, he was making all this money. So the IRS, of course, is like, wait a minute, you weren't making very much money in the last couple of years, but now you're making all this money. Something, you obviously must be doing something wrong. So he was audited. And he said the only thing that saved him was he scheduled everything on his calendar. Every appointment, every meeting, every activity that he did was on his calendar for the last 7 years that he was audited for, or whatever the year is that it was. And he says that's what saved him in his audit from the IRS, because he could account for all his time and every receipt and every charge as he went back through and said, yep, I was at lunch with this client on that day. That's why that's a business expense. All those things, right? Does that make sense? So not only, you know, does it have all those kind of benefits, tools to it as well of tracking your time in your calendar, but the reality of it is it drives you towards your success. Make sure you're documenting and putting things on your calendar that will drive you towards success. And if you don't have them right now, let's start brainstorming and figuring out, what do we need to do? Who do you need to meet? What groups do you need to get involved with in order to start getting out of obscurity and making yourself known? Because that's what it's all about. All right, everybody, no matter where you're at in the world, have a fantastic afternoon. Bye.